I'm here today in the Memorial Garden, Swinton, for the unveiling of the Far East Prisoners of War Memorial Board, which has been organised by Croston. But I'm delighted to say I'm joined by Gloria Egan, nee Scott,
Thank you.
whose father is not only from Salford, a lovely man by all accounts, you're telling me,
Yeah.
and his name is immortalised on the board, which we'll see at the unveiling. Tell us about your dad.
Well, my dad didn't need to go to war really. He was an engineer, but he volunteered, and he left my mother behind with 4 daughters, I being one of them. He landed up being captured in Karachi, and then was taken to Ambon, to the prisoner of war camp there, where he eventually died. And on my 60th birthday, I decided the lump sum that I'd got from the education, I would go and visit my dad's grave, which I did with my husband. We took 5 weeks out. We went all places, Hong Kong, China, everywhere. It was lovely. And I found where he was buried through the help of a head teacher who came to visit me one day at the swimming pool. And he said, I can find out the information you require, which he did. And that's how I come to get there. Yeah, it was
Emotional.
wonderful. Can't tell you how emotional. Can't tell you how emotional.
How old was he when he died?
36. I was 7. I was coming up for 7 when he died. But my sister and I, 2 sisters, were evacuated to Marton, just outside of Blackpool. And they used to make me go and get the eggs from the chicken thing. Oh, and I hated that. It was awful because there were rats. I've been frightened of rats all my life ever since. But I was about 4.
Yes.
And you can imagine leaving your home, leaving your mother, leaving your
You don't know
dad.
what's happened, do you? No.
There's lots of people had to do it. I know, I realise that, you know.
Yeah.
But then we came back, and then my mother decided we'd have a wander, and we went to live in Worcestershire for a while. And then she got homesick, so we came back to where we belong.
Your home route, Salford, best place on earth.
Best place on earth.
Is that your father there?
And
isn't
that's
it, as
my
well?
dad, yes.
Oh, it's a wonderful album you've got there.
Yeah.
So what we're going to do now then, Gloria, we're going to wait for the service to start, and we'll take some more photos of you, if that's okay. Okay.
My dad would have been so proud because I've got 3 sons and they're all good lads. One's in Australia with his wife and Grania O'Malley, and 3 children. One's a nurse, one does physical training, that's a lad. And the youngest one works for the council. They're all
Good lads.
kids. Yeah.
Good morning, High Sheriff, ladies and gentlemen, and most importantly, the families and friends of those being honoured today. Today we gather here in Salford to honour the memory of loved ones who made the ultimate sacrifice during their time as prisoners of war in the Far East. In this solemn moment, we come together to unveil a memorial that will stand as a symbol of remembrance. Let this memorial forever serve as a place of reflection and respect, ensuring that the sacrifices made by these brave souls are never forgotten, and stand as a testament to the enduring love and pride we hold for those who gave their all. Thank you for coming today, and I would like to introduce Mary Liz Walker, the High Sheriff of Greater Manchester, to say a few words.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Good morning, everybody. Madam Mayor, City Mayor, distinguished guests, veterans, ladies and gentlemen. As High Sheriff, I am here today representing His Majesty's Lord Lieutenant of Greater Manchester. On her behalf, I extend her warm greetings to you all as we mark the 78th anniversary of VJ Day. Often referred to as the Forgotten War, these soldiers, including vast numbers of volunteers from across the Commonwealth, endured terrible privation, disease and starvation during battle and as prisoners of war. For those who did return to their families, they found a country and a society which had been through tremendous upheaval since the day they left. Discouraged from talking about their experiences, many never spoke about what they had been through. Today we are also here to witness the official unveiling and dedication of this board to remember Salford's fallen service personnel since the Second World War. This memorial recognises the incredible contribution and enormous sacrifice made by individuals from Salford who were deployed in Korea, Malaya, Suez, Cyprus, Aden, Northern Ireland, Bosnia and Afghanistan. None of the soldiers remembered on this wall returned to their families. Today and in the future, we have the opportunity to reflect on these individuals who gave their lives to protect not only this country, but other nations and communities across the world. By recording their names on this board, close to the cenotaph, their families and all of us as a community now have the opportunity to acknowledge and actively remember their sacrifice, lest we forget.
Ladies and gentlemen, our guests, my name is Croston, and I'm from the Salford Veterans Association. I'd like to thank everyone for attending this morning the unveiling of our Salford Far East Prisoner of War Memorial Board. I also have some other people to thank who are not with us today, and without their assistance this would not have been possible. Firstly, Mr. Keith Andrews, who's a researcher at the National Memorial Arboretum in Staffordshire. He helped me by confirming the prisoner of war statuses, proofreading and editing the background text and suggesting additional information. Secondly, Mr. Andrew Snow, researcher of the Thai-Burma Railway Centre in Kanchanaburi in Thailand. Also corroborating names on the board, adding extra names, some 30. When I went to see him I only had 72. When I came back I had over 100. Without him I wouldn't have got those 30. It also meant that I could visit all bar one of the men from Salford who are buried in both cemeteries in Kanchanaburi. Well, I'd also like to thank the guys at M&A Brown in Worsley for producing the memorial and for installing it at 7:30 this morning. I'd like to thank the community champions at the 5 supermarkets across Salford where we've been doing collecting. It's helped us to pay for this today. Without their help we wouldn't have had those donations. And of course the members of the public who've given money very generously over the last few months. I'd like to thank the council for approving the installation of the board. Hoping that we can make People Day or VJ Day an annual event. I apologise for any missing names on the board. Unfortunately, since the Second World War ended, many records are either lost or incomplete. So if anyone knows anyone who should have been on the board, I apologise. Let us all keep the candle burning. I'd like to read a poem. It was written by Maurice Rooney, ex-Royal Engineers and a FEPAL, in memory of his brother Leslie. They both joined the Royal Engineers together. Unfortunately, Leslie died as a FEPAL in Thailand on the 28th of August 1942, aged just 22. His brother was slightly more fortunate, held in Singapore and Formosa, liberated in August 1945. Leslie is buried at Chung Kai War Cemetery in Kanchanaburi. And it reads, "Now that we have strolled along the pathway up from the river to the graves at Chung Kai to witness the solitude and beauty of the cemetery where a son and brother lie. And we who've made this special journey, a pilgrimage we all have shared, wonder why so many perished while we who returned were spared. Flowers, shrubs and trees have been planted, tended with care through all the years. Plaques with name and epitaph printed, we read through freely flowing tears. The prison camps have all now vanished, grown over by jungle and lost in time, but the graves we see are grim reminders of men who were taken in their prime. We have this feeling, he knows of our existence, just why it's hard to explain. But our journey has achieved a sense of purpose to be with him just for a while again. And all those who sleep out here in Thailand and other Far East war graves over the sea will never ever be forgotten by us who live on forever free. And the second reading, this is called Special Parade, and it's written by Frederick Noel Taylor, who served the 4th Battalion, the Royal Norfolks. Frederick was captured at the fall of Singapore on the 15th of February 1942. He too was sent overland to Thailand to work on the Death Railway, and then back to Changi in Singapore before being sent by sea to Saigon. It reads, it's called Special Parade. The bugle played, the men fell in, some of them tired and all of them thin. Patched up shirts and shorts they wore, some with less, but none with more. Bandaged arms and legs by scores, old rags that covered their ulcered sores. Others straight from the malaria bed, with pains in their feet and in their head. Everyone who could walk was there. Dark, sunken eyes fixed in a stare. In 2 lines the men fell in, and not one was wearing a grin. Everyone was grim and stern. You wonder why? Well, you shall learn. Not a word on that parade was spoken, not a word or familiar joke. Jesting and joking were far apart, for each one there had an ache in his heart. No funeral march with its plaintive verse, no gun carriage there to act as a hearse. The coffin was carried shoulder high, by 4 of his pals with a tear in their eye. The coffin was just a box of wood, not a flower or wreath to make it look good. But the Union Jack was in evidence there, and stopped the box from looking bare. With steps the procession passed, and with it the lad who was sent here to die. 12 months of suffering and toil, only to be buried on Thailand soil. But his soul has risen to the heavens above, and with it goes his friend's great love. He's gone to a billet far better than ours, a haven of rest and happy hours. The parade dismissed, and one could note, everyone there had a lump in his throat. Life it passes just like sand, by the way they saluted, how it was grand.
Okay, I'm going to now read the Phi Pao prayer. And we that are left grow old with the years, remembering the heartache, the pain and the tears, hoping and praying that never again man will sink to such sorrow and shame. The price that was paid we will always remember, every day, every month, not just in November. We shall remember them. I'm now going to read the Kahima epitaph, which reads, when you go home, tell them of us and say, for your tomorrow we gave our today.
Standard bearers! Order! Standard! Now later invite ceremony there, High Sheriff of Greater Manchester and Unveiling. I'd like to invite Mrs. Chloe Egan to lay the wreath on behalf of families of all the Salford parties.
Okay, can I just say thank you to everyone for being here today on what is a really important occasion here in the city of Salford. I'd like to pay my special thanks and appreciation to both Glenn Croston, Wayne Fox from the Salford Veterans Association for fundraising and ultimately organising this really special event today. A very special occasion for families and friends attending to honour their loved ones and remember them. And it's great to have this now here as a permanent reminder of those who we've tragically lost in the war. What I'd like to do now is also invite all of you to join the ceremonial mayor in the parlour for tea and conversation and probably some biscuits and cakes. So please come and join us. You can access it through the main doors of the town hall. Thank you very much for being with us today. We really appreciate it. Take care.
I'm here today again in the Memorial Garden, Swinton, for the unveiling of the Far East Prisoners of War Memorial Board, which was organised by this fine gentleman here, Glenn Croston. We've just had the service, and Glenn's going to tell me more about the board and how it came about.
Okay, I've previously been to visit war graves in Thailand, both war graves in Kanchanaburi. So it's something that's been of interest to me as an ex-serviceman. But earlier this year I started to look at just how many men from Salford were held as far as prisoners of war and how many of them did not come home. And as I put the list together, I had an idea, well, why do we not create a memorial board for them? And as the numbers started to climb, and it seemed like a good idea, so I put my proposal through and it was approved. We've been fundraising since February, so it gave us something a target to achieve, and we've done that, and the result is here today.
How many names are on the board then?
There are 110. They all have a link to Salford. Most of them were born here, but not all.
Yeah. It's quite an emotional event, wasn't it, to be quite honest? So speaking to Gloria, whose father died in the Far East, she laid a wreath.
Yep.
Is this the only memorial board in the area, do we know of?
No, I've never heard or seen a board that's specifically for fallen Far East prisoners of war anywhere outside of Thailand.
The Forgotten War?
They call it the Forgotten War, and if we don't do things like we've done today, then chances are it will be completely forgotten. I must say there is an organisation called Kofi Power, which is the children and families of Far East prisoners of war, and they really are keeping the candle burning. Because it's the descendants of these guys, whether they did not come home or they survived and did come home, they're keeping it going. And if they didn't exist, then chances are we wouldn't be here today.
Correct. Now, if any more families of soldiers who've had the armed services, could their names be added to this?
Unfortunately not. I think we spent a lot of time doing research. We tried to get all of those. Well, we did. We got all the ones that we could find. And then, of course, they had to be corroborated. Some people put names forward as being either Far East prisoners of war who died overseas or they survived and came home. And when I did the checks with the relevant guys down at the Arboretum and over in Thailand, there was no record. Well, I don't know what the story was that perhaps has been passed down through generations, but all 110 here have been confirmed by either or both of those. Many of the next of kin cards that I looked at during the course of doing the research were incomplete. And once that happens, you've got no way really of telling where a guy came from. Those that were completed more fully gave us more information about where they came from, addresses, etc., next to kin detail. But many of the cards that I've seen are basically not much more than number, rank and name and regiment, which is a shame because I'm pretty sure that if more of them had been completed properly or in full, we would have had more names on there.
Glenn, I've got to congratulate you. Once again, you've succeeded in your task. You've done the memorial wall behind us. You've done this. You do a fine job with the Veterans Breakfast. You're there every year at the cenotaph, and I doff my cap to you, Glenn.
No problem.
Well done, this man.
Yes.